Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday night, and it's 8:35 Eastern, 7:35 Central Time, or 5:35 Pacific Standard Time. Then I'm here on Wednesday night. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you all on board tonight as we delve into a topic that affects many professional Black women. Tonight, I'm talking about unmasking the truth, the collision of invisibility and imposter syndrome for Black women in the workplace. So, again, welcome back to my channel as always, right? We're here to really dive deep into things that matter and affect us every day. If you don't know me, I'm Twanna Carter, Dr. Carter, and as a career coach, right? I empower stressed, busy women executives who are tackling imposter syndrome, self criticism, and doubt. I help them by helping them to alleviate their stress so that they can find peace of mind and focus on excelling in their careers. I'm going to pop over here to make sure I have my comments open because yes, your comments are welcome, your questions are welcome. At any point, I will always have my little link over here so I can actually see your comments. And again, if this is your first time, if you're just joining me, again, I'm talking about unmasking the truth, the collision of invisibility and the imposter syndrome in the workplace for Black women. Now, when we talk about invisibility in this context, we're talking about, you know, when for Black women in the workplace, their contributions, their ideas, or their efforts in the workplace are overlooked, they are devalued, or just dismissed, right? Now, if you've been with me for the entire month of June, you know that for the entire month, and this is the last video in the series, we've talked about the invisibility of Black women in the workplace and how Black women can feel alone at the top or as they're climbing to the top, right? And so I've actually linked to all of the videos. If you've missed any of them, don't worry. I've got those linked below and you can go back over them where I really go into depth talking about the invisibility of Black women in the workplace. Now, we're also going to talk about that collision. We got the invisibility of Black women in the workplace. And we're going to talk about imposter syndrome, right? So, imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon. Most of us have heard about it. This is where, mainly women, but men also can experience imposter syndrome, where individuals doubt their accomplishments and they fear their value or their worth. They don't have any. And they fear that as feel like they're a fraud. Like, I don't really belong here. I'm not supposed to be here. Someone's going to come any moment and knock on that door or drag me out here saying, hey, fraud, he doesn't belong here. She doesn't belong here. Right. And when the invisibility of Black women and imposter syndrome collide, it really forms an extra barrier that Black women, we have when we're striving professionally to succeed professionally, it forms an extra barrier for us. It's a very heavy topic, but it's really a necessary one. Because really, we really here, I aim to shed light and to really spark conversation and ultimately promote change. That's what this is all about. Right. So let's get started by looking at some data. Hopefully people have had a chance to hop on, and I am going to just check and be sure, yes, that I can see comments over there as you make those, right? So we're going to talk about some data here. So according to the 2022 study by leanin.org and McKinsey and Company, and this year you'll notice I give the statistics. They didn't necessarily break everything out by Black women. So you'll kind of hear that as we go through. I've spoken on some of their prior reports, 2018, 2019, when they said Black women, but they actually put it under women of color this year, right? And so number one, some data here, the broken rung still remains unfixed. Like, what is the broken rung? Anybody out there know what the broken rung is, right? Oftentimes you hear it reference climbing the career ladder. So what the broken wrong is it talks about that for every 100 men who start off from an entry level position and they're promoted to manager positions, only 100 men, only 82 of women of color are promoted. At the end of the day, there's no way to catch up. At any moment, when we're talking, there are not enough Black women in the pipeline to be promoted and catch up to white males in the workplace. So yes, the broken wrong is still there. The truth is that many women start off and they want to be managers. Most never get past that first wrong. That's why they call it the broken wrong. And then the second fact here, second statistic, even though 41% of women of color want to be top executives, and that's compared to only 27% of white women, Black and Latina women are less likely to support that they're being supported by their supervisors for career development. And Asian and Black women are less likely to have sponsorships speaking up on their behalf. It is significantly detrimental to your career if you want to reach the C-suite. If you lack sponsorship, chances are you probably will not see the C-suite, right? And then overall, for all women, 43% of women leaders say they're experiencing burnout. So that's a lot. That's a lot going on, right? And we know that, again, Black women get less support from managers, they receive less mentorship, less sponsorship than any other group of people. And this double jeopardy scenario of experiencing racial and gender bias leads to the feeling of feeling invisible, invisible in the workplace. We're highly educated. Again, Black women are the most educated populace in the United States. So we're more than capable. We begin to feel invisible because how folks are viewing our accomplishments. So you might be asking now, yeah, but you said collision and imposter syndrome. Well, how does imposter syndrome come into the picture? Well, let's talk about it. Now, when an environment perpetually undermines someone's working abilities, they may actually internalize this negativity, meaning if someone is dismissive of you, your ideas, you as a person, you can internalize this and begin to doubt your own confidence and your value. And you begin to fear that you just got lucky to make it here. You feel like an imposter. You may oftentimes you do self criticize, you start to doubt, and it becomes this vicious cycle of imposter syndrome, right? So you've probably heard a lot of folks, there's been this like imposter syndrome doesn't exist, and everybody has it, is it really important? And you hear a lot of folks go, well, this really an individual issue. It's like a personal problem. You probably heard people say that. But wait, not so fast. Not so fast. Why not so fast? Because you also have to take into account discriminatory gaslighting, right? Yeah, discriminatory gaslighting. You have to look at the part that discriminatory gaslighting plays. Because what if it is the environment? Or what if it's other people in the environment that contributes to Black women feeling like, they have they're experiencing the imposter syndrome. Now, if you've not heard of discriminatory gaslighting, well, let's talk about what that is. Christy Pichero defined it as this: discriminatory gaslighting happens when dominant social groups use these psychological tricks to maintain their power and privilege by sowing seeds of self doubt and dependence in minoritized groups. In other words, and you've heard this, well, if you're Black and you come from this neighborhood, you probably got here on the corner, you really don't know what you know. Well, we know how you got here. You didn't earn it, someone just gave it to you. You're just lucky. When you hear enough of people in your environment saying that, you can internalize that. What does it look like in the workplace? Well, Things like questioning every decision a Black woman leader makes. If this is familiar to you, drop a yes in the comments. Everything is questioned, every decision, every report. We're sitting in a group, everyone submits their reports, but it's the Black woman's report that we got to go through and check and check, right? It also may look like ignoring or dismissing or attributing the accomplishments of Black women, their achievements, to other folks. It may also look like ripping apart a Black woman's achievement or her accomplishments in an effort for feedback or constructive criticism. But that Black woman's work is consistently ripped apart, and you look across at your white, especially your white male counterparts, who are submitting work that is of lower quality than yours, and it's never questioned, nor is it ripped apart. That's what discriminatory gaslighting can look like in the workplace. It's also going quiet when a Black woman offers a suggestion. Everybody just gets quiet, just like chirp, chirp, crickets, crickets. But a male can offer the same suggestion. It's like, yes, yes, this also, yes, yes, let's all jump on that. Discriminatory gaslighting. So that would make sense, right? These are clear illustrations of how the intersectionality of race, gender, and psychological factors can really create unique challenges for Black women in the workplace. Guess what? Many Black women, we're still breaking through. We're still breaking through the barriers, right? Why? Because there are strategies that we can all employ to alleviate these issues. Okay? So let's talk about what those strategies are. Companies, organizations can provide more mentorships for Black women. Mentorships that mean something, not because it's a check in the box and no one really participates, so it's not very meaningful, but meaningful mentorship programs. Also, companies can participate by addressing bias in the workplace. Yes, address it in the workplace culture. Also, actively promoting diversity and fostering inclusion, inclusive culture in the workplace, as well as encouraging dialogue. We can start to break down these barriers. That's what companies, organizations can do. And so, what can we as Black women do? Well, first of all, you can document, document, document. When you experience microaggressions in the workplace, document that stuff, right? And also, when you experience microaggressions, just flat out racism, definitely document it. And what do you mean documents? If you notice that someone else is providing lower quality work, yours is getting ripped apart, theirs isn't. Keep a copy of this stuff documented, date and time. Here's what I saw, here what was said to me, and my counterpart crickets nothing, right? Document promotions, document how projects are distributed, because discrimination can take place in all of those things. And you want to document so that it's not just what people will say. That's just all in your mind. I'm sure you're imagining things. If it's not documented with discriminatory gaslighting, people will tell you it is in your mind. You just, it's not what you think it is, right? And then also, you may be told that, if you experience microaggressions and you don't document, I'm sure that that's not what she meant when she said that. I'm sure that's not what he meant. And I give you a great example. I was in the military, and a coworker was listening, nearby a group of white males who were talking. And so one of the officers, actually was a major, said, I'm going hunting this weekend. I'm gonna be shooting cans this weekend. Then he went on to say, I'll be shooting Mexicans and Africans. Those stuff, said it in the workplace. And then the person didn't document, the person just went and verbally reported it, and she got I'm sure that's not what he meant, and I don't think that's really what you heard. Right? Clearly, you can see that is an issue. This is a microaggression. That's just flat out, right? It's in your face. But again, You must be willing to document, put your time into it. It's not like writing paragraphs of everything. Date, time, who was present, who said what, and who was in the room, right? You also need to be ready to document and take your documentation and get legal advice and file with the EOC if you have a case. Because for many companies, and it takes a minute to change company cultures, organizational cultures, but sometimes the only thing they understand is the loss of dollars. And sometimes the threat of loss of dollars will make people kind of sort of get a can of act right? You can also also join employee resource groups or affinity groups or organizations that are specifically, especially created for Black women, safe places and safe spaces for Black women. Number one, there's strength in numbers, and this is important, you reduce the sense of feeling isolated. Isolation makes anxiety worse, isolation makes depression worse, and isolation makes all of this feeling invisible in the workplace worse. And you can definitely feel isolated when you're the only Black woman in the workplace, or when you're one of only one, two, three in that space. It does feel extremely isolating, and you feel alone there. It feels very alone. So definitely those affinity groups and organizations, they take away that isolation. Also, be sure to advocate for others, form allyships so that everyone is advocating, so that you're not the only one in that room saying, hey, I noticed that you ripped apart this, and have someone else to form those allyships so those people can help you as well, right? Also, consider hiring a culturally sensitive career coach, right? They really can help you see the issues when they're so ingrained in the workplace. They can help you see that it's not just in your head, and they help you see it from a different position, right? Also, a culturally sensitive career coach knows that when it's so ingrained in your workplace, that environment, when it's time to go and find another position, they can also help you come to that conclusion so that that doesn't seem so isolating and scary. Your mental health is never worth holding on to any job, no matter how good you may think the benefits are, no matter like if this is really filling out my resume. Your mental health, you know losing your mental health over a job is just never worth it or advisable. And again, a culturally sensitive career coach can help you with making decisions about your next company, because I do, get Black women who have been stuck 5, 10, 15 years in a toxic workplace because they feel like if they leave, they're jumping from the pot to the frying pan. Well, that's why you hire a culturally sensitive career coach, because they will work with you, and I do that with my clients when they come. Yeah, okay, so here's what my research says, and here's what this person says, and here's what I see. What did they say, or what kind of questions? We can help you get out of that feeling like you're literally jumping from the pot to the frying pan and staying stuck in one place, right? So definitely, let's all stand up for each other and push for change. Now, if this resonates with you and you need assistance with making your exit plans because you realize you've been at this for space and time and it's not changing, I do offer a free 30-minute career solution call that you can call and talk with me. And I'll drop the link here. It'll be in below. And as well, I drop the link here. But you can reach out to me and set up that call. This is where you apply for it. And let's talk together. Let's talk about what your next steps look like. Okay. So this is, if you've been here for the whole month of June, you know that again, I was talking about the invisibility of Black women in the workplace, and how Black women can feel alone at the top or as they're climbing to the top. This is the last, live video for June. You made it. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all of the replays. Many of you caught it live, but a lot of you caught the replay. All of the links are below. You can catch up. Next week is a new month. And so be sure to join me next week here for July's live series. You won't want to miss that either. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week.